In a world filled with human rights violations against women and girls, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of the Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative Country Program, a groundbreaking partnership between the United Nations and the European Union. This initiative aimed to eliminate violence against women and girls, shining a light on the injustices they face in their day-to-day lives. From 2019 to 2023, Spotlight Zimbabwe embarked on a learning journey that would forever change the lives of millions. Zimbabwe was one of more than 20 countries globally and 8 countries in Africa participating in the Spotlight Initiative.
Well, I think the Spotlight Initiative lived up to its name, Spotlight, because the initiative was shedding light on a problem, and that's gender-based violence. And it has done it in an absolutely amazing way, because this initiative in Zimbabwe reached up to 8 million people, and did not only help women, basically, who were directly victims of gender-based violence and could then go to a lawyer, but also empowered them, created safe markets, created opportunities for women. So actually, it went beyond what it was initially designed for, just fight against gender-based violence, with a lot of innovative approaches. But it has actually done more. It has also created a movement. And that movement was possible also because the government and the president has endorsed the Compact Against Gender-Based Violence. So we have now a whole movement in the country fighting against gender-based violence.
The magnitude of the problem was staggering. Worldwide, the statistics were alarming, with 1 in 3 women having been subjected to violence, with effects such as economic, physical, psychological, psychosocial, sexual consequences, and death. It became clearer that urgent action was needed. In order to leave no woman or girl behind, the Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative Country Program brought together civil society experts, advocates, policy changers, the government, private sector players, and communities to confront this pervasive issue head-on and deliver as one. Through empowerment and collaboration, the initiative sought to create lasting change and build a society free from violence. Armed with insights from the initial field visits that assisted in identifying hotspots, the previously excluded and marginalized communities, the team of multi-sectoral partners went to work with the backing of a flexible programming that assisted in delivering the initiative during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic to respond timely to the needs of the most vulnerable and marginalized women and girls. 55 civil society implementing partners at provincial and district levels assisted the program to reach target beneficiaries at the community level and the most vulnerable groups of women and girls.
The Spotlight Initiative through UNFPA has strengthened access to GBV services through the Mobile One-Stop Center. So the Mobile One-Stop Center is a flagship or a replica of the static Mobile One-Stop Center, whereby we are offering all GBV services in one space while we are in the community. So our GBV survivors can access legal services, health services, and psychosocial support services in one space. So the presence of the Mobile One-Stop Center is actually strengthened and encouraged reporting amongst community members for them to come and access GBV services.
The Spotlight Civil Society Reference Group played a strategic advisory role throughout the 4 years. This active group produced the Zimbabwe Scorecard on CSO inclusion and participation, a handbook for civil society on movement building, and launched a signature Spotlight campaign, #ShakeOffGBV. The impact of the initiative far exceeded expectations. Initially targeting assistance for 2 million people, the initiative astonishingly reached and supported over 7 million individuals. This tremendous feat was made possible through comprehensive outreach programs, awareness campaigns, and grassroots partnerships.
In 2019, the Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative was recognized by the UN Partnerships on the Rights of Persons with Disability Secretariat and its main donors as a unique, promising practice. It systematically integrates disability rights and inclusion into a UN flagship program, setting an inspiring example. During the mid-term assessment, the initiative showcased an efficient model of collaboration and synergy. It was highly praised for its effectiveness in applying the new ways of working set by the UN reform. A remarkable 95% of respondents in an online survey agreed that the UN teams worked together exceptionally well.
One of the remarkable achievements of the Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative country program was the high-level political compact on ending gender-based violence and harmful practices. By advocating for legal reforms, the initiative successfully changed laws to better protect women and girls, ensuring their rights were respected and upheld, thereby contributing to the government's Vision 2023. The country's first high-level compact to end gender-based violence and harmful practices was developed and signed by His Excellency President Emmerson D. Mnangagwa and by key stakeholders representing traditional leaders, development partners, civil society organizations, and faith-based groups. 25 national laws and policies were strengthened and developed to contribute to the eradication of violence against women and girls in public and private spheres.
Zimbabwe has also done very well when it comes to Marriages Act, Chapter 5.17, which criminalizes early marriages below 18 years. And this was enacted, so that's a big success story. And then under the Spotlight Initiative, Zimbabwe developed its first national women in leadership and decision-making strategy. This was coordinated by my ministry, which was successfully launched this year in February 2023. Then the fight against sexual gender-based violence can only be won when women and girls have equal access and opportunities in the social, economic, and political spheres. Through interventions targeting economic empowerment of women, a total of 2,500 women of the most marginalized women, and I'm talking here about the gender-based violence survivors, women living with HIV, impoverished women in rural areas, they all benefited from the empowering initiatives under the Spotlight Initiative program. These programs include business management, financial literacy, skills training, as well as provision of startup packs for income generation.
Notable gains such as the Marriages Act in 2022 seek to put an end to child marriages, a problem that plagued Zimbabwe.
What we found out in Manicaland is there were a lot of early marriages and young girls were dropping out of school. So what we also initiated under this movement building program was a campaign which was entitled Back to School campaign, which was focusing on young girls who had dropped out of school because of early pregnancies. We were able to send quite a number of girls back to school, and they have continued in school. We are still to get the final results of how far the girls have gone. But also we managed to sensitize the communities on the disadvantages or on the ills of early marriages, so that as communities they are now able to police this issue, so that young girls are not married at an early age.
The Cybercrime and Data Protection Act 5 of 2021 was put in place to provide Zimbabwe with one of the most comprehensive legal frameworks in the Southern African region, which addresses online violence against women and girls. The strategy for the elimination of sexual harassment and gender-based violence in the workplace in Zimbabwe was launched during the 2021 16 Days of Activism by the Zimbabwe Gender Commission. It is a first-generation vision document on the elimination of sexual harassment and gender-based violence in the formal workplaces of Zimbabwe. On the 27th of July 2022, the Public Service Commission launched the Public Service Sexual Harassment Policy, which marked a key milestone in Zimbabwe's journey towards the eradication of sexual harassment in the workplace and towards an inclusive public service in line with the work culture transformation envisioned in the National Development Strategy. In the private sector, the Spotlight Initiative partnered with 14 companies that developed and are implementing sexual harassment and GBV policies. the Model Workplace program reached 10,000 employees at all levels. In the program's efforts to leave no one behind, the initiative contributed to the government's National Disability Inclusion Agenda by strengthening institutions through capacity building to improve access and the quality of GBV services for women and girls with disabilities. To enhance the voice and agency of women and girls with disabilities, the program sensitized them on their rights and capacitated them on engaging policymakers and community leaders. It also established a platform for quality dialogues with the government on disability issues and supported the inclusion of women and girls and persons with disabilities in all consultations leading to the development and adoption of the country's first National Disability Policy 2021 and in national budget consultations with parliamentarians.
From the onset of the Spotlight initiative, we realized that the program influenced the policy and legislative reform agenda that is pro-disability, because we began to see consultations made by the disability constituency, and we also witnessed the involvement of persons with disabilities in policy and lawmaking processes.
Another significant milestone was the establishment of the first state-of-the-art forensic DNA lab in Zimbabwe. This cutting-edge facility revolutionized the way evidence was collected and analyzed, enabling faster and more accurate identification of perpetrators. This advancement is illustrative of the value of the product's comprehensive model to ending violence against women and girls. It aimed to play a crucial role in finding the truth, preserving the fair trial principle, and protecting the rights of survivors of GBV cases. Recognizing the need for victim-centric approaches, the Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative Country Program focused on refurbishing victim-friendly units in courts and police stations. These safe and supportive spaces provided a sanctuary for survivors, where their voices were heard and their experiences validated. Through counseling and access to essential services, these units empowered survivors to regain control of their lives and find healing.
The Spotlight initiative has really made a huge impact in this district. Under shelter, people are really utilizing this shelter, not this village only, as she has said, the whole of Mad South province. And in this shelter, people are not only getting direct services, we also have a project, livelihood projects that we are implementing here at shelter level, where we will be training women, assisting them and economically empowering them so that they become independent when they get out of this shelter. This is good for them, especially when they'll be going back to the society. It helps them to be reintegrated successfully without any challenges. The livelihoods that we have poultry, we've been doing irrigation, drip irrigation. We also have been doing Vaseline making and sewing.
The direct services that she has just mentioned include the counseling services, the legal aid services, the assistance for our clients with transport, assistance to access other protection services.
GBV incurs considerable social and economic costs to individuals. It has significant costs for the economies of developing countries because of its strain on healthcare and judicial systems, reduced employee productivity, and incomes. Studies show that 80% of survivors were not able to afford basic needs as a result of the GBV they had experienced. The Spotlight initiative went where the need was greatest with the first model gender-responsive safe market in Zimbabwe. The market provides a safe and violence-free space for women to carry out their economic activities in public places. Through women economic empowerment initiatives, 3,320 women benefited and 2,920 micro-businesses were created.
Ini ndakanzwa kuti kune madzimai tagara tantiri muchirongwa chemadzimai saka facilitator wedu akatidedzawo kuti tinge tichizodzidziswa na vachiti kune ve Spotlight vari kuuya saka ndakave mumwe vakawana zvidzidzo ku Spotlight takadzidziswa takaiswa mumagroups tikadzidziswa ticha vangu vainzi vagwenzi saka vaitidzidzisa nezveentrepreneurship saka vaitidzidzisa kuti mudzimai anofanira kunge achiitawo mabasa emaoko achiwanawo zvinomubatsira muupenyu saka ini nekuda kwekuti ndiritori shirikadzi ndakaona chirongwa ichi chakandinakira zvikuru.
An investment in the whole school approach to address GBV by integrating the topic into the local academic curriculum made a marked difference in schools. Innovators against GBV, postgraduate youth, championed the eradication of all forms of GBV and spearheaded campaigns in the 5 spotlight provinces.
Like in all the other countries, the CSRG had the 3 key roles of monitoring, of advising, and of advocacy around the issues to do with the Spotlight Initiative. Our role as advisors was to look into the program and to see if there were any gaps or any pockets that needed particular attention and were lacking. So we were able to advise at multiple roles. Firstly, at planning, the design of the annual work plans over the 4-year period. We were also able to sit at the table in the National Steering Committee and also give that or play that role of being advisors to the program. We were also able to play the advocacy role in terms of bringing to the core or to the fore issues of concern, especially systemic issues and other factors that could have been contributing meaningfully in a negative way, of course. The exacerbation of GBV, and we were able to advocate around creative ways of mitigating these. Just reflecting on the composition of the CSRG, we had academia, we had key populations, we had the women's rights, we had the youth, we had the male engagement, we had public health, we had labor, we had the private sector even, various seats, and they all ensured that they brought the different voices within the context of advocacy.
With such impressive highlights, the Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative Country Program brought violence against women and girls out of the shadows and into the light for all to see and act upon. By breaking societal taboos and promoting open discussions, the initiative created a collective understanding of the importance of gender equality and a world with zero tolerance for violence. The country program was recognized for this resilience when it won the Fortitude Award at the 2021 Spotlight Global Learning Symposium Award ceremony held in Cancun, Mexico. The initiative was a finalist for the Leave No One Behind and Sustainability Awards. Beyond the tangible outcomes, the real impact of the initiative was felt in the lives of survivors. Through empowerment programs, survivors found solace, discovered their inner strength, and became advocates for change themselves. The initiative nurtured a generation of fearless women and girls who refuse to be victims any longer.
Manicaland province was one of the chosen provinces to roll out the Spotlight Initiative programs in 5 districts of the province, namely Chipinge, Mtasa, Buyera, Chimanman, and Nyanga. Would like to report that there are a lot of positives, some footprints that have been left by the Spotlight Initiative program in the province of Manicaland. Number one, we also ensure that survivors of gender-based violence will need age estimation, which is a problem in most of the districts because they have to come to the capital province where they need to come to Mutare district to access the services. They were supported with the transport services for age estimation. Also, the province managed to get support for survivors to access psychiatric evaluation, which is accessed in Harare. So we managed to clear the backlog in terms of survivors who need the services of psychiatric evaluation and age estimation. Therefore, it facilitated the speedy trial of court cases which have relation to survivors of gender-based violence.
Masses of women came together and they said no to this and other forms of violence against women. The changes also in the communities have been awareness of everyone, inclusion of the traditional and religious leaders, and because they are included in what is happening within the communities, they were able to then ensure that law is enforced.
The social accountability trainings, where we are training them to engage with their local level leadership, with their local level structures in terms of ending violence against women and girls. And through the social accountability trainings, we've seen among our 5 wards, our communities being able to initiate their own self-projects, because we have Mapulana Secondary School in Ward 13, which also came through the social accountability trainings, and they have done surveying, they have done siting, and the community is the one that is mobilizing resources to ensure that the school is erected. We have also the Madlambuzi safe shelter, waiting mothers shelter. It had stalled for a long time because of the engagements of the GBV champions or the women's rights groups. We have seen that project also come to fruition.
Njalo sifundisa ama traditional leaders ukuthi labo lapha bebehlala khona ezinkundleni zabo baku emphasize lokhu bakudlulisele phambili, kungabi lo muntu ohlukumeza omunye, ikakhulu omama behlukunyezwa ngobaba ngoba yibo ama-perpetrators of gender-based violence emakhaya lapha. Siyacela kakhulu ukuthi into efana naleyo yokuhlukunyezwa komuntu ngomunye ime. Sithanda ukuthi sibonga futhi i-Spotlight Initiative ngoba isifundisile thina ngama-activists yakho ayo. Sijoyine i-He for She for that ukuthi sincedisane le Spotlight Initiative nokumisa ukuhlukunyezwa kwabomama behlukunyezwa ngabobaba. Omama labo ngesinye isikhathi balakho ukuhlukumeza obaba, kodwa obaba balamahloni ukukhuluma ukuthi bahlukunyezwa. Sicela obaba bengakufihli lokho.
As the sun sets on this extraordinary 5-year journey, Zimbabwe Spotlight Initiative Country Program has left an indelible mark on society. It has shown that by uniting forces, governments, organizations, and individuals, we can all work together to eradicate violence against women and girls. The legacy of Spotlight Zimbabwe serves as a reminder that we must continue to champion the rights and safety of women and girls. It is up to each and every one of us to carry the torch, to speak out against violence, and to work towards a world where women and girls can thrive without fear.
The momentum generated by the initiative has reached various sectors, including the government, private sector, and civil society at the national, provincial, and district levels. It's crucial for us to seize this opportunity and build upon the catalytic work and achievement of the initiative. The government has expressed its commitment to sustaining these gains by implementing laws and policies, adopting an all-of-government approach to tackle gender-based violence and harmful practices.
But the fight is not over. We've gained the momentum. We need not lose it, as considerable investments still need to be made towards a world free from violence against women and girls. The time is now. Let's ensure that women and children live a life full of dignity and free from violence.
I'm hopeful that we shall continue to sustain the gains of Spotlight as we strive to end violence against women and girls. But this can only be possible if we are able to adequately resource GBV prevention and response work. The high-level political compact presents a framework with clear actions that are to be taken by various institutions utilizing the whole of government approach. Some of the promising resource mobilization plans include: 1, increasing our actions through effective gender-responsive budgeting and through the creation of public-private partnerships to mobilize resources for the implementation of the high-level compact. Financing for GBV, gender equality and women's rights, to achieve these commitments to SDG 5, which is one of our country's priorities.
Spotlight Zimbabwe, a partnership between the United Nations, the European Union, and the government of Zimbabwe, have dared to imagine a better future for women and girls. And together, we can make it possible.